Hello everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial Mom. And in today's video, we are here again for Married at First Sight, New Orleans, Season 11, Episode 6. I see red flags, and I've been saw them. How about you, Mom?
Me too.
So let's get into the review. So we are still at this honeymoon. We start off with Amani and Woody. Of course, Amani says everything is just going great. It's fairy tales and, gumdrops and rainbows. But she is still waiting for that moment that something bad is going to happen, because she's basically been traumatized from her last relationship. And of course, Woody, being the person that he is for right now, saying all the right things to her. He's like, you know what? I am actually genuinely, truly happy to be with you in this moment. So how about we just cherish these moments, because we're not going to get another free trip like this anytime soon.
Well, I'm just surprised how they're all calling them trips and vacations. You're honeymooning.
They're trying to get that in their mind, Mom.
I know, but Amani is afraid that the rift is coming, and I think maybe she feels like it's going to come sooner or later, because that's one of the things she keeps talking about. Now, I understand being hurt in a previous relationship, but she is the same person who said, whatever happened before, I'm not going to put that on you. So why look for the rift? Why think it's coming around the corner? I mean, yes, things are peachy keen right now, but you're here. Don't need to worry about that right now. Just get to know each other.
Well, she's not the only one who's looking for the rift. Olivia is with Brett, but I'm like, Olivia, it's there. I don't know how she doesn't see it, because she thinks everything is going pretty good for right now. And of course, Brett is like, oh, it's just been a stellar experience so far. I'm like, why are you lying to us? You can see it all on his face. He might be a sarcastic person, but he wears his emotions on his sleeve and on his face, because the whole time throughout this whole episode, I was looking at Brett and I'm like, does he not want to be here?
He gives the standoffish vibe too. It's a different standoffish than a Henry. It's just like going through the motions kind of thing. But Olivia and Brett actually go meet up in Amani and Woody's room to talk, to vibe, to see what's going on, just to collaborate between each other and just get to know everybody as a whole.
That's true, but I was with Woody on that part when he was like, I really don't see the point of Brett coming over here, because he don't really mess with him. And I'm like, that's kind of true. And then Amani's like, I've been feeling this, standoffish. I feel very skeptical about Brett. And I'm like, yes, people are finally saying this.
People are saying this, but when they get to the room though, what comes up? That bachelor party. And I guess this is something that Olivia didn't know. He's like, he just kind of like left out of there.
Olivia did know that.
Oh, okay. Well, Brett said, I had a little bit too much scotch and I didn't have nothing to eat, so I had to go.
Did you really believe his excuse? He said he didn't want to throw up in front of everybody.
No, because just the way he was acting at the bachelor party, like, he didn't feel the vibe from the guy, so maybe he felt like he was alone in this just by how he was trying to like hit on Henry's friends. And
I mean, he was off-putting the whole bachelor party. He weren't even being fun.
So after the meetup with Amani and Woody, Olivia and Brett go out to dinner. Now during dinner, it's interesting. I'm not sure if they actually ordered it or it was offered, like Mexican crickets.
Well, I'm sure it was ordered, because Olivia said that she likes to try new things. Brett said he likes to try some new things. So they seem to enjoy it. I wouldn't have done it.
I wouldn't have either. But I was like, okay, so they're going to make guac. And I'm like, maybe that's the add-in for the guac. I was confused.
Crickets are add-in for the guac?
Well, hey.
No.
While they're having dinner, the topic comes up of how much money you make, what do you like to do. Well, Olivia is a nurse practitioner. I'm not sure if we ever knew what Brett did, or maybe I didn't hear it.
I don't think we heard it, because we were overthrown with his sarcasm and his other thing.
She was like, is it okay if a woman makes more than you? Like, how do you feel? He's like, yeah, no, It's okay. So, well, how much money do you make? I mean, Olivia just comes right out with that. I mean, that's something that's different than a Miko and Michael, but
we're not even going to talk about that.
So they whisper the figure in each other's ear. And Brett's like, yeah, okay. So you make 3 times as much as me. And she's like, not 3 times, maybe 2 times. But again, she's a medical professional. So depending on what you do, it may not necessarily be equal. And I think that was the start of Brett being a little standoffish, because he wasn't quite the same after that, really, until we see them later on.
You think so?
I do.
I don't think Brett cared that she made more money than him. If anything, I thought he thought it was a good thing, because I could just see him, using her instead of actually wanting to be with her.
No, I didn't get that, because see, Olivia said that she likes nice things, she likes nice vacations, she's like to eat out a lot because she's single and alone. He's like, well, you're not alone anymore. I was like, well, that's true. And Brett said, he likes to cook, he just likes to do things at home. So he's not as adventurous, as vacation-y, I guess, as Olivia. Maybe it's a money issue. Who knows? Maybe he seemed like he was trying to be a little bit more down to earth and make Olivia seem like she was living the high life, which she could, because it was just her.
No, I don't think that. If anything, I think that this was when Olivia was starting to get her red flags, because she was like, we kind of have 2 different interests. I don't really know how that's going to mesh well together, because like you said, Olivia likes the finer things and Brett wants to be settled down, so he says.
As they were talking, they also mentioned how, like, if they ever got into an argument or a rift, because that rift came up a lot with all the couples tonight, how they would get past that. Like, she said she's a talker, she likes to talk things out, she would even, talk to her support group, which is her mom and her friends, and Brett's like, no, I don't do none of that. I mean, I'll talk it out, but...
You think he talks to his family?
Well, he said no.
Of course he does, and they're going to crack jokes on him. I wouldn't talk to them either.
What do they have in common besides those cats?
I have yet to see anything else. And then I think Amelia and Bennett have to be the most entertaining and the most genuine relationship on here, because we see them. She has her flower hat on. He has his flower shirt on that was very colorful. Like, they have to be the most eccentric couple and people that I ever seen on a show ever.
I agree.
So they're just talking about the honeymoon. Basically, Bennett still kind of feels like, are we still in the honeymoon phase? Have we moved out of the honeymoon phase? I was like, no, Bennett, you would know if you was out the honeymoon phase. He says that he knows when he wants to give his all into someone, when he knows them basically physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, just all the realms within the body. And Amelia's like, oh, same. I wrote a song about that. She breaks out her guitar. She's singing in her Colby Calais voice. You know who she is, Mom?
No.
She's a singer. And I was like, okay, Amelia, you can sing really good.
She can, actually.
Ben is over here tapping his feet. I was like, production, you are so shady. But thankfully, his feet were clean. So, we weren't disturbed like we were with them socks this time around.
She did sing the song, and it was about love, because they both say how they fall in love fast or infatuated with the person they're with fast, and they don't want this to be the same thing, so they're trying to take their time and be open to everything. But so far they're open, and I just don't see a problem right now other than that residency thing, so that is going to be an issue for sure.
But then we get to the scene with Karen and Miles. Now, Mom, did you think that they were actually going to have a nice conversation this time around?
I really hope they have a nice conversation every time, because I really want to see Karen open up, because Miles have been doing that. So when we see them, they're swimming. They seem to be having a good time. It's a nice morning. But once they come out that swim, they sit down. Miles has something to tell her, because it's his wife now, and he just wants her to know what he's been going through for the last couple of years. And that is, he's been diagnosed with clinical depression. And the look on Karen's face was like, oh. And one of the things she said too, which I didn't care for, was she thought she was going to have a masculine man. What makes you think he can't be masculine because he's been diagnosed with clinical depression?
Exactly. That's what I want to know, because how are you first going to connect with him? Like, yeah, I feel like I can open up to you, and just making him feel like, you know, he can tell you whatever, even though we already know that wasn't true because you didn't tell him how you really felt about his Instagram. But then he opens up to you about something that is really deep and personal and a lot of men don't talk about. And you're going to say that he's not masculine enough for you because he has clinical depression? Are you serious? I was just taken back even further from that. When I thought I was starting to be like, okay, maybe I can see for Karen because of what she's been through. Just her saying that alone is like, mm-mm.
Well, that to me, it seemed like it took Karen back to square one. Just like before they even got married, when she was crying like, oh my God, I know who I'm marrying. I do believe Miles felt a little bit from that. Like he caught something from that because he said, you know, I hope that I can share things with you because I had a friend that I've known before, and he actually committed suicide, so maybe he had mental health issues as well. And he said after his friend died, he was going to open up to whoever he was with to let them know what was really going on. Now, he did go on to say how he goes through ebbs and flows, like he has good days, bad days, he's more emotional. And then Karen said, well, what can I do to help you out with that? And he's like, you know, it pretty much is like whenever it happens, like whenever you're in an episode. And Karen was like, okay, I think I can try, but I don't know if she really wants to try. That really, again, took her back to square one.
It did. And in his face, she said that she was going to try. But in her confessional, she said, I don't think I can do it. We got to see, what is it called? The fourth wall, when we get to see production in the back.
Yeah.
We saw them with Christina and Henry because, yet again, another scene with them not talking.
At breakfast.
Awkward. I'm just like, can they not think of anything to say? Or more so, Henry can't think of anything to say? That production had to feed them sentence stems to have something to say? And Christina.
Oh, you better get it right. But I understand that with the name thing. You know, get the name at least right. But Henry, even though he's awkward, he doesn't stop enjoying his meal. He doesn't stop enjoying anything he wants to do. That's just who he is. And Christina has that RBF face again. And she's just like, I mean, I'm just used to being an aggressor. And, you know, what is it that you want from me? And Henry says, you know what? I can see how we're colliding. I can see how, you know, things are going a little bit slow for you. And she's like, yeah, they are. Christina just wasn't here for it in the morning time.
Christina wasn't here for it, or was Henry not here for her?
Christina wasn't here for it. Henry's just doing his own thing, like he says.
Henry wasn't here for her because he didn't like her attitude that she was giving off that breakfast.
And eventually he did say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But while they were out on their excursion, Henry was paddle boating. He was just going. He got along. He had on his life jacket. I guess he got used to wearing it. And he was just going along, and he realized Christina wasn't behind him. And he was kind of like being jokey. Like, oh, I got to go back. I got to go back to see where my wife is and this and that. And I was surprised. I'm like, okay, we saw a little glimpse of Henry coming out of his shell doing something on his own, because he wasn't there with Christina to like hold his hand. He was like out doing what he wanted. And then Christina said, and she just did a whole 360, like, oh my God, like, this is what I've been wanting. This is what I've been needing.
Like her.
But my thing is like, oh my God, you can't have it both ways. He's either not aggressive for you, or he does something on his own, like, we're communicating. He's doing something. So now we have all the couples meet up at the honeymoon. They're together. And who walks in with their camera out? It's Miles. I'm like, wait a minute, Miles. Are you on IG, or are you just filming a video? Because
I hope he's not on IG.
We know how that worked out. Well, one of the questions he's asking, like, who do you think could run faster? Me and my wife, you know? And he's just making quirky things. And I mean, he is the youngster of the group, right? So I guess this is what he does. When all the couples get to the table, Amani asks everybody, so who's kissing? Y'all kissing? And Amelia Bennett's like, And then Henry interjects like, well, I know that question's for me, and no, I just rather take it slow. And Woody's like, his confession, like, why don't you kiss your wife? Like,
Woody always got something to say.
He just don't understand what is happening here
with Henry and Christina. Especially, did you see Christina's face? Christina's face That needs to be a meme.
Miles was like, well, at least I got a kiss on the cheek. I was like, well, I guess that's an upgrade.
I guess.
Now, the ladies get up and decide that they're going to take shots at the bar, which really isn't that far behind. And the men stay at the table. And one of the questions that come up in both groups separately is, how would you rate your marriage so far? And with the women, you know, Amelia and Amani, of course they rank very high. No one gets a 10 because there's always room for improvement. And this is the honeymoon phase. You really don't know everything just yet, so you can't give it 10, right? Because nothing's perfect.
Woody almost gave it 10. He said they need to move in first. Then he'll give it a 10.
And Olivia gives Brett a 7.5. And somehow Brett is ear hustling and overhears that.
He was ear hustling really hard because I thought he would have kept his own ears in mind at his conversation, because Woody gave a 9. Bennett said, you know, you can't put quantity on love. I was like, okay, Bennett, you need to write a book. But then, what did Miles say? Like a 6?
Miles gave like a 6 or 7, and the men ranked pretty high, but Brett said,
it was trivial and stupid. That's basically what he said.
Christina gave a 5. I was surprised. I thought she would give like a 1 or a negative.
Well, we may not 100% care for Christina. I don't think that she's like rude. She has some good qualities to her. So she will give a 5.
Now, while they're talking, the men and the women, their vibe, they have each other's backs. They are generating a true sisterhood, it seems like. Versus the men, who seems like, okay, you could tell Woody and Bennett are together, like, you know, on the same wavelength, they cool. But everybody else is kind of like on the outskirts. Even Miles is not really connected with his friend. I think because he's not having that connection with Karen. So
I was like, but then you brought up that point. I was like, yeah, that's it.
So once the ladies get back to the table, everyone decides to leave except Olivia and Brett, Christina and Henry. And while they're talking, Brett now has his RBF face on. And Christina said, so would you guys rank us? And again, Brett's like, well, I don't want to trivialize. It's stupid. And Olivia's like, well, I gave a 7. He's like, yeah, I overheard it. And I'm thinking like,
what does it even matter? It's about the marriage. And I agreed with Christina. She was like, you know, it's not dehumanizing. Your wife gave an answer. How come you can't give an answer? Which also made her think like, you know, she's dated men like him before. He's being shady. He's hiding something. She don't trust him.
Exactly. Because when they got back to the room, those two couples, she pulled Olivia to the side and told Olivia just that. After that whole conversation, Olivia and Brett now go to their room. And the conversation just seems like it's tense. The whole vibe is tense.
Tense from who? Olivia or Brett?
From Brett, because Olivia is trying to get him to open up and say, okay, so what about when we go home? Like, what are we going to do? Do we go on dates? Do we go to dinner? Like, what are we going to do? And he's laying there. He's like, I don't know. I'm just looking forward to my cats cutting the grass, and I haven't thought about anything.
With exactly that face.
Brett is doing the exact opposite of what he said early in the day when they were having a good time. That he was a communicator.
And are you surprised?
I'm not surprised, because you know what? Like you said, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. So him overhearing a 7, I mean, did he really think he was the perfect 10?
Clearly.
That upset him to the point of no return, where Olivia just got so frustrated and overwhelmed with the conversation, she had to excuse herself and she went to cry in the bathroom. So now it's the next morning and Brett wakes up with a smile on his face. He apologized to Olivia because he's like, you know what?
After he hit his knee on the table, I was like, that's that karma.
I shouldn't have did that to you. I should have been more open. I should have communicated more. And I just overheard you saying that I was a 7 and I just shut down.
But I was like, but at the table, you said it was trivial and stupid. His words, not mine. So why are you taking that to heart if you didn't care about it?
Overall, Olivia's like, well, that's both our bad. So I'm thinking, no, it's not.
Right. I was like, no, Olivia, you didn't do anything wrong. It was Brett who took it to a whole nother level for no reason. And when we come back to see Amani and Woody, of course, what is Woody still doing? Trying to woo Amani with the rose petals leading up to the bath and the candles. Him and her have been talking about it, but more so him than her. I'm like, this is his time.
I don't know they've been talking about it. They've been alluding to it.
They've been talking about it the whole time. So you can tell that she is ready to release and they're going to boom boom. And I thought it was interesting when Woody said that, basically Amani is making him a better man. He can be mushy. But to me, it's like, if that's not who you are all the time, your representative is going to leave really soon. And I just hope for Amani that this is who Woody truly is all the time and not just putting on a front because they only been married for a week.
I didn't get that. What he said to me was that he's not used to being the mushy type of guy, but Amani makes him want to be mushy, and for that he sees that he's turning into a better man. Because with those roses on the floor and in the tub and on the bed and places like that, maybe he's never experienced that before, never had someone to make him want to. He says that Amani makes him that way because that's his wife. He's never had that wife feeling before. So this is bringing out that romantic thing. That's what I got from that.
Well, I guess that's why this is Millennial and Mom.
That's true. Two different viewpoints. But what happens after that bathtub scene? I thought they was going to be in there for a minute. They always make to that shower, don't they? That shower comes up every episode.
That's Amani's spot. That's why I said they always be talking about it, even though you said allude. But I'm like, production, we clearly don't need to keep seeing this. We know what's about to go down with his leg over Amani. I felt like I had to close my eyes when I was watching it with Mom.
Ooh, well. We do know what happened at the end because Amani confirmed it. And I'm glad that they were both able to come together romantically because, again, like you said, we keep seeing the shower. And honestly, what's the point of that if nothing's going to happen afterwards, I guess? But, okay.
And when we go back to Millie and Bennett, I just really enjoyed their honeymoon. Can I just say that?
Yes.
I really authentically and genuinely enjoyed their honeymoon. They just seem like they have so much fun together. But I guess Amelia was kind of tired of Ben for the night because for the last night they want to build their little fort. I'm like, they always want to do something childish but then have a deep conversation.
I don't think it's childish. I think it's something that they want to do. It's connecting. I mean, they're into things from the earth, the nature, wildlife, things like that. So to me and to them, it looks pretty normal.
Well, not childish, like in a rude sense, like childish, just like childlike.
Well, maybe it was like a pseudo campfire or something because Bennett got to talking and he got to asking questions like, so how do you see things again? That question came up. And Amelia's answering it first. Next you know, she gently closes to sleep. And Bennett is still talking. And I'm like, how long was he talking? Because Amelia went to sleep not once, but twice.
I know. It had the nerve to wake her up to continue talking, to start over again and continue talking. Like, sir, just call and I go to bed. And when we make it back to Miles and Karen the next morning, they're celebrating their week anniversary of being married. But I thought it was just so shady how production showed Karen just like seeming not excited. I'm like, she just woke up. Let's give her some credit and not, think otherwise.
Miles wants to celebrate every little nuance, from last week to whatever, at least we're strangers or something like that, to
stranger acquaintances,
to this week, oh, we've been married a week. And Karen, even if she just woke up, she just doesn't want to hear these little things because the connection is not there.
What do you think is wrong with Karen? There has to be something else there than him not being masculine enough and him being too emotional and him being too young, unless those all three could be it.
All three could be it, from the IG to everything she thought she knew by watching those videos to the most recent thing of him being diagnosed with clinical depression. Karen wasn't into this in the beginning, so all the things she's learned along the way, again, to me, took her back to square one. Like, where does she begin? Because she's saying how, yeah, okay. Because Miles said to her, so how long do you think it'll be before I get a hug? She's like, I don't know, a day or two or never. Like, a lot of things were like, or never, or never. And I'm thinking, that's not encouraging him. Like, why do you want him to continue to uplift and encourage you? In one breath, you're like, okay, yeah, I feel like we're connecting. But again, after that information was given, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what else to say about her anymore, what she wants. I know she says she wants to be comfortable with everything. Things take time. I get that. It does take time. You have to be comfortable. But I mean...
But she says one thing to him in person and then says another thing in her confessionals, and the thing that she says in her confessionals is the true self that she shows Miles.
So who's really has her representative out now?
Okay, everyone, so that was the end of this week's episode. I am super happy that we are finally out of the honeymoon stage and we are getting to them living together, because I just have to see what's going to happen, especially with Brett and Olivia. I really hope that Olivia really sees it through, and I know that she wants to try, but just say her true feelings and just let it go, because Brett, he's just not into it.
Yeah, me too, because Olivia and Brett, who knows how that's going to be. Karen and Miles, I mean, is Karen really going to move in? Is it going to be a Lindsay and Zach from last season kind of thing?
Gosh, don't say that to us.
And I'm really interested in seeing how Amelia and Bennett's apartments or houses look like, because they're so quirky. I'm just curious to know what's in there.
And Henry and Christina is still TBD.
Yes.
Well, thank you all so much for watching. Let us know what you all thought about this week's episode in the comments down below. And also that you like this video and you're subscribed to our channel, because this Sunday at 1 p.m. West Coast time, we are going to go live to, one, draw our 2 winners of our 500 subscriber giveaway, and 2, to talk about Married at First Sight with you guys, talk about 90 Day Fiance, Love After Lockup, and anything else that you guys want to talk about. So please make sure you are there for that, because we want to see you.
Thank you all for watching, and as always, live simply, be grateful.